Hello everybody, my name is Aceface. Today I'm going to be trying out the Broadsword in the Abyss actually, and there's actually a particular reason for this because I remember last time I was using the Onyx in the Abyss, and actually I got some people who commented on Reddit. They were saying that I should actually try out the Broadsword because the thing is, I think at least a lot of people like this ship, and I also just think in general this ship looks really cool. I just think heavy interdiction cruisers look just so damn cool. I don't know what CCPR team was doing, but they just made all the heavy interdiction cruisers just look amazing. Yeah, I'm not really a big fan of Minmatar ships, but I think this one looks really good. I like the straight lines and the kind of cool sleek look it has, and also I really like that it's completely black. I like this color scheme really a lot. The same way I like the Onyx color scheme, I also like this a lot. So I'll explain the fit real quick here. So we're using autocannons. I've considered using artillery, but I want to try autocannons because artillery cannons are really hard to fit. They use a lot of resources, so you're able to fit a lot better with the autocannons. Also, autocannons do more DPS. The only problem is the autocannons have tiny range, so I'm thinking that autocannons probably will be better because if stuff is trying to kite us, we probably will be able to. I don't think stuff is even going to try to kite us, but if stuff is trying to like out track us, then it'll be really hard to shoot them with the artillery cannons because artillery cannons have crap tracking. I've got Webifier to help with the tracking if something is trying to orbit us at close range, like for example a frigate or something. Then I'm using an auto-targeting system here because just I had free resources, so I just thought, okay, may as well just put that there. Otherwise, not really any particular reason. But we're basically basing off a shield boost fit, so we're going to use a B-type medium shield booster. This is obviously going to be quite an expensive module. It costs like I think 200 mil, but I just wanted to just use that just for the sake of it. I mean, I could have actually used a C-type, but I wanted to go with like a decent tank. I want to go with a beefy tank, and I want to actually potentially try this to do T5. I'm not in this video. I'm going to actually do T3 because I want to just slowly get my way up. You know, T3, then we can do T4. If it survives T4, we go for T5. So we'll do it like that. Take it through the gauntlet. I'm using an Afterburner. So I was considering using MWD or Afterburner. The reason I went for Afterburner is because I feel like we're going to have to get a close range. If we are at close range, what is going to prevent us from getting at the range you want to is tangling or anchoring. And if we've got an MWD, if we've got tangling, there's going to be both tangling and anchoring that's going to prevent us from getting at the range you want to be. While if we're in an Afterburner, the only thing we need to destroy to enable us to get into range is the tangling, because the stuff that webifies us. I'm so used to these terms in these Triglavian terms. So the webifiers and scramblers are two things that can prevent MWD boat from getting up close, because it's important that we get up close since we're using close range weapons. And that is why I'm thinking an Afterburner would potentially be better, because of how the Afterburner can only be prevented by webifiers. The scramblers obviously won't do anything. So we're going to try a fierce electrical filament, and I have high hopes. The only thing I think it'll maybe have a bit of a problem with is the rogue drone battle cruiser, because we'll have to get up pretty close and they have really insane DPS. Just the best way to avoid them is just to avoid the damage, just kite. And we actually are able to kite. So if we could just go quickly over the different ammo types, we've got actually 3 different ammo types. We've got Republic EMP. We're going to use the electrical side actually. So probably we'll be using a lot of the Republic Fleet EMP, but we've also got the Hail and the Barrage. So Barrage is the weapon type that has the longest range, or the ammo type. So you can see a 30 kilometer fall off. The Hail is the one with the most DPS. However, it does not have the optimal kind of damage type, so we're obviously going to do explosive resistance. So this could actually be possible to do this in a gamma sight, and actually maybe I'll even do that. Actually, I'm not 100% sure, but I think maybe I'll actually do that later. But I was thinking of trying an electrical sight first. Then we've obviously got EMP that is going to do EMP damage. There's a bit less DPS, has like medium range, so that's good. So I think we'll be using mostly EMP. We'll test out the different ammos actually in the Abyss, because the thing is, the Broadsword has a really good capacitor. So just one large cap battery is able to, and one capacitor module is able to have a really good capacitor. So let's just quickly see if we take off this capacitor control circuit. Yeah, then we don't have a stable capacitor. And also if we put another solidifier here, so medium core defense solidifier, we do still have actually a stable capacitor. So this could be an alternative fit actually. This could maybe even be a better fit for an electrical, because we'll have more stable capacitor. So we'll see. But I want to try what we're using now, and we'll see how this goes in the electrical, because we'll have crazy capacitor in the electrical. Look, 15 gigajoules per second free, and we're not even in the electrical site. Imagine in the electrical site how many gigajoules we're going to have. It's going to be crazy. So we'll see how this goes. I think it's going to go pretty smooth. And also a reason I want to do the T3 first is because I have very little experience using the broadsword. Like I have used it before, but I have very limited experience using it, so I'm not so used to like the mechanics of the ship. I'm usually used to using the, obviously, like you guys have seen, the drones, the missiles, the Gila use. So it's important when you're doing these sites to be like experienced with what you're using. You want to be able to actually like understand, or you want to be able to do stuff quickly and have a good muscle memory, because if you don't, that could be a reason why you die. You make small mistakes. That happened to me obviously before. I remember how I failed in an Omen Navy issue once, where I forgot to turn off the overheating on the reactive armor repair. Actually, it was really funny. Just because of that, I died. Otherwise, I probably would have survived. So, Fierce Electrical Storm. Let's go. We've got the Republic Fleet EMP, because EMP obviously does EM damage so much better. It's a bit annoying that the min-meta damage is not pure. It's not pure damage, so it's like all mixed all over the place. You can't focus it to do exactly what you want to do. It's just a bit annoying, but I kind of understand, because it would maybe be a little bit OP if you could just do any damage type. Like that is, I find that almost all damage weapons, they have like a mixed resistances. Like Armad do both EM and thermal. You got all the different damage types. You got a kinetic and thermal from the hybrid weapons, and then you got these mixed damage types from the Armads. But they don't have that for missiles, so you can take almost any damage type missiles. But the thing is, I kind of see that they nerf missiles in their ways that what they do is they put ship type specific bonuses. So for example, they'll do extra damage to kinetic missiles, for example. So that's a way they nerf it in that way. So this is the wave I was talking about that I think maybe you could have trouble with. We'll try keeping actually at we'll try keeping at range at 15 kilometers, see if we can tank them. I think we'll be able to tank them. Shouldn't be that much of an issue. Let's see how much capacitor we have. Ooh, 63 gigajoules. So basically we cannot be neutered out. There's no way we can be neutered out. In fact, it probably would have been better that we just go with a large shield boost actually, because there's how much we have actually extra power grid and CPU. So I don't actually think this fit is pretty optimal. Ooh, did you see that wrecking shot from that guy? It looks a bit scary right there, but we'll start with this. Let's look at this guy's resistance. Let's see what he has. So he has kind of same explosive and EM ones, so it'll probably be best that we can go with the EM type because of how they have a reduced EM resistance from the damage or the weather effect. So this blast grip is obviously really close. We're taking quite a bit of damage, but it seems like we're actually doing all right. It's obviously T3. I should be able to actually. I'm actually a little bit disappointed that my bonus or HP per second wasn't, or my tank is not holding so great. Like it's still holding, but you can see that it's not holding like the great. I actually forgot to use a Webifier. That's something like I have to get used to this. I'm not so used to using a Webifier. I'm used to throwing my missiles and drones at the ship. Okay, go for this. Keep it range at 15. They're actually quite fast. Actually, I think they go fast. They go quite a bit faster than me. You can activate our auto targeting system as well. But you can see here, it's pretty easy. But I would have hoped my tank held a little bit better. But honestly, you can't really expect much from the Rogue Drone battlecruisers. The Rogue Drone battlecruisers do tons of damage. They can, if you have bad resistances to a specific damage type, like in this case, it's blast grip, doing explosive damage. And explosive damage is actually one of the lowest resistances we have, actually. So, I mean, it's not really that surprising that it's doing quite a bit of damage. But it would have been nice if we did held up a little bit more point blank range. Because it could be a bit scary if we ain't got the rogue drones who Webify. And the rogue drones who Webify, obviously, are going to keep us in place and allow the rogue drone battlecruisers to get up close. And I think that'll be a bit scary, actually, because if it is... so we've got actually the lowest damage type goes kinetic. So if it was to strike grips, then we probably would get really wrecked in a T4. If it was a T4, we'd really have to keep an eye on our range. And I think that could actually be a benefit to having an MWD, because we will be able to kite a lot easier from these guys. So remember how I said that the Webifiers and Scramblers, there's more stuff that can prevent you from getting slowed down if you're using a MWD or AB on Afterburner. The only problem is that the Afterburners obviously do not go so fast, so it's hard to kite with them. So the MWDs can be beneficial in some circumstances, like in this case, but it will be better when it comes to keeping our speed up and there's Triglavian forces, because Triglavians usually are pretty deadly when it comes to their E-War. They usually have quite a bit of E-War, like a lot of these tangling guys, they're called. They will just like tangling Damavix and they'll just wreck us. We can see here we're wrecking these guys really. That's so easy. those guys did not stand a chance because we do sick DPS with our Republic Fleet EMP M. So I'm thinking maybe an MWD. I'm not 100% sure, because the thing is, I also worry that if we're using an MWD, it could also mean that we'll just be bouncing back and forward, like, because we're not like a kiting fit. We're in a pretty short range fit. So if we're using an MWD, probably we'll be bouncing back and forward off the ships as well, because we're just trying to keep in that sweet optimal range of like 15 kilometers. So it'll be hard to keep that specific range. Like if you're kiting at like say 40 kilometers, it's pretty easy because you have a lot of buffer. You can, like, you know, you can go within 30, maybe like 45, you know, something like that. It's like, it's not as punishing, but if you've got short range ammo, it's a lot more punishing. To just go at like 5 kilometers extra out of range can mean the difference between you hitting and not hitting. So that is also kind of a bad thing with the MWD. I mean, obviously piloting does come into, your piloting skill does come into account by keeping that range, but it still sometimes can be pretty hard, especially with the unpredictable movement sometimes of the NPCs that can sometimes cause you to kind of slingshot right, left and center actually. But one thing I was really thinking is that I definitely think our capacitor is overkill. This is way too overkill. We could put another solidifier here and we'd still have lots of capacitor. Also, I mean, so potentially that, then also having a better prop mod, that's also a possibility. I've got tracking enhancer here. This helps a bit with our tracking. You can see if we turn this off, we get a 70 kilometer fall off. Put this on, 90 kilometer fall off. We're using 3 damage modules, you can see here. So a 4th one hardly provides any benefit. So I thought maybe if it would just be better to just have a little tracking bonus. Oh, this is really, actually, you know, I'm pretty sure actually I'll use an MWD in the next one, because this is ridiculous time. Look how much time we spent going to the gate. It's just insane how much time we've had to spend actually. This is something I really hate about the Afterburners. You also have to really position yourself well in the Abyss sites if you want to get a good time, because otherwise you could maybe be like locked out in a different part of the room and it'll be really annoying. Let's see if we can face tank the Lucid guys. Hopefully we can. I think it should not be that much of an issue. Let's go for the frigates first. Actually, let's get a bit closer. The Munin actually is also a possibility. Munin is definitely a possibility as well. It's the heavy assault cruiser of the Minmatar, and I've seen actually it being used, but you can use like a shield booster fit, but it doesn't have as much buffer as the broadsword, so that's something I worry about. If you take like raking shots, it's the same issue with the Ishtar. The Ishtar is really good. The only downside is that it can have a very, if you take a raking shot, you want to be swift with the activation of the assault damage control, because the assault damage control will obviously give you the buffer you need to survive. Oh, we forgot to activate our Webifier. Yeah, there we go. Okay, the buffer is not as good on the Munin as the broadsword. You can see here, look here. Seems like a tank is just absolutely having no issues whatsoever. Go for this guy, Munin, 1.9k, 2.5k HP, and I think the resistances are also a lot better on the broadsword as well. It's interesting actually, because the broadsword actually is a shield-based ship, or at least it seems to be intended to be a shield-based ship, because you can see here it's got more shield HP than armor HP, based armor HP. You can see here on the other hand, the Munin has a more based armor HP than shield HP, so it's like kind of, they're not like, the Minmatar are known for having kind of like mixed tanks, so they don't go for a specific way. So the Armor, for example, basically exclusively go armor tank, but the Minmatar go a little bit wherever they feel like it. They go a little bit wherever the wind takes them, wherever it feels most efficient. You can definitely, these two cruisers that look very similar are a good example of that, because even though they look very similar, they tank in very different ways. So with those frigates, they went down surprisingly quickly. I forgot to use a Webifier in the beginning, so I think that's why the first frigate took a long time. But we're wrecking this guy right here, Lucid Watchman. You have no chance. Let's go to the other one as well, because he's getting a remote rep as well. You can see that. Okay, remote rep. You don't remote rep. Your remote rep won't do crap, kid. The broadsword is coming to sort you out. Alright, just Webify him. It's also like, it's just also a characteristic thing about the Minmatar guns. They have a really short optimal range, but really long fall-off ranges. So you always benefit from coming a tiny bit closer because of how you're getting closer to the optimal range. But you still are able to hit quite a lot, quite far distance out. So I'm not going to go for the bioadaptive cache because it's just going to take me forever. If I had an MWD, I probably would be able to go for it. But I like these. If I'm going to take these, if I'm going to prove a farming fit concept, this is more like a test. Maybe it could be a good farming fit if I actually get it, because I'm surprised by how good capacitor we get. We're using one medium shield booster, one large cap battery, and just one capacitor rig. 63 gigajoules per second. That's insanely good capacitor. That's amazing. I have nothing compared to that in my Gila. The Gila has a really crowd capacitor in general. The Broadsword seems to have a pretty good innate capacitor. That's also an interesting thing in general when it comes to Abyss fits, is that many ships, another ship is also the Sacrilege, you know, the heavy assault cruiser of the Amar, the Sacrilege, this ship over here. This also has a very good inherent capacitor. So you'll actually notice that its gigajoules per second will go up crazy amount by putting in one large cap battery. You can see here we get a big difference from just adding one of these. 50, we've got -12 to +15. It's a really, so if because the thing is, the cap batteries, they increase your capacitor size by a certain percentage. So let's say you have a really big capacitor to start with, then the boost or the extra gigajoules you'll get from one battery will be a lot more. So the Sacrilege is also an example of that. It has a really good base capacitor. So they also, it's similar to the Broadsword, that just adding one battery can have crazy effects. On the other hand, you got the Gila. The Gila has really bad inherent capacitor. So one large cap battery doesn't usually cut it. I usually have to use a few of the rigs that cause it to get more cap stability, as well as being in the electrical side, because not only this thing is even cap stable in the normal space. It's not even the Gila I have is not at all cap stable in the normal space, just a little bit cap. It's cap stable in the electrical side because, you know, you get the capacitor boost from the electrical side. But this is like amazing capacitor, so it definitely shows that there's a lot of potential. It shows that the tanking potential is really good here due to how the gigajoules per second is just in such excess. So definitely I'll be using a different fit for the T4 version, because when we try T4 next time, we're going to definitely be going with like a really beefy tank, like a fat tank, like fat active tank, just gonna boost like crazy. It's gonna be really nice. I can't wait to see how that goes, because this is just gonna be like the amount of capacitor we get from this bad boy, this pumps out. Oof, this is just amazing. So imagine the amount of tank we'll be able to do. That'll be really cool. Also, I'm thinking the only issue then will just be simply DPS. It'll be hard to just do a lot of DPS, but it seems like we're doing alright DPS. The only issue was, you know, that rogue drone battlecruiser wave, because, you know, the rogue drone battlecruiser wave obviously did crazy amounts of damage up close, and that's obviously where we have to be. But I mean, seems to be pretty alright. I'm actually thinking maybe I don't even need to have, if I have an MWD, it will make it harder for me to have a really good capacitor. Since we're going to be up close, we're anyway going to face tank things. We're not going to really, the thing is, like, look, since we're brawling, we're not trying to kite things. The only kiting wave will be the rogue drone battlecruiser, but that is kind of maybe not the smartest thing to form your whole fit around one particular wave. It'll just go a bit slower in those waves. I think we'll still be able to pull through, because if we upgrade our capacitor, so maybe actually I won't use an MWD, because if we have this afterburner, it you know, makes our capacitor a lot better, then we'll obviously be able to tank a lot more then. And since we're up and close and personal, we will have to take punishment. So the Broadsword probably actually will, so based on like using the autocannon philosophy, then we're probably going to have to face tank everything. And if we're going to face tank everything, there's no point in sacrificing my capacitor to be able to go away. And if I'm up at 0 or really close to stuff, then I'm probably anyway going to have to be like hard E-ward down anyway, because I'm going to be, you know, really like held down by all the Webifiers. So I can imagine actually maybe even the Afterburner would benefit us, because it will allow us to tank more due to better capacitor. But we'll see. I'll have to do a little bit of a Pithum experimentation and see what goes on there. This Federation Navy Stasis Webifier is just absolutely amazing. It has such a good range because you basically are able to Webify everything. I've noticed that most things in the Abyss, they orbit around just like 13 kilometers, not more than 30 kilometers. So it's able to web almost everything. If you have a standard T2 Webifier, it only has 10 kilometer range and you are not able to web these guys. But you can see here with this Webifier, we're able to wreck this guy really hard. So that's it. T3 site done. Time, obviously horrendous time. But I feel like it had a bit to do with that rogue drum battlecruiser wave. The drum battlecruiser wave didn't go that well. Maybe could be beneficial to have a few implants with regards to DPS as well. Also, a Pyrolancer would definitely benefit us a lot. The Pyrolancer drug, because that makes it so that we have really a lot better DPS since it boosts weapons. So when I use my Gila, I don't use a Pyrolancer because I first of all don't like to rely on drugs at all because it just cuts into your profits. But it could really benefit this guy because in the Gila it doesn't really benefit it so much because it only boosts its missiles, it doesn't boost the drones. But this guy, this broadsword, relies only on his guns, so it'll boost the guns completely. So it'll benefit a lot of Pyrolancer. So probably we'll actually try that when we're going to T4 as well. We'll see. Anyway, that's it for the T4 run, guys. Went pretty smoothly. Only was a bit slow in the rogue drum battlecruiser. Otherwise, I think we have the potential. This has a really good capacitor on this ship right here, so we'll be able to fit a boss tank. I'll be going and making some modifications to the fit. So I'll see you guys next time when we try the T4 Abyss. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. I'll catch you guys later.